Hello and welcome to Breakaway with Dawn and Friends. Today, it's been heavy on me to speak about comparison. And we all know that it is a trap and it steals our joy. And I have been posting about it, thinking about it. We all live life, so I thought Claudia and I can talk about this today because it is something we probably do every day and don't even realize it. So
Mhm.
we would like to talk about the impact, the strategies, and just help one another, right? So, hi Claudia.
Hi, Don. Nice to see you. Nice to hear you.
Yes, yes. Last week I had someone else. I had a different victim. I'm just joking. Um, but I always miss our conversations because I told you they're very therapeutic for me. But so last week I did a different type of episode. So I'm curious to see how it'll do. I
Sure.
called it Roots and Wings, by the way, because I thought that was a little catchy.
What a great
Um,
title.
yes, because I talked to an old friend. She's a mom and she didn't expect to be a parent. Like she had no desire.
Mm,
And
okay.
I'm now watching her life through Facebook because of that's life right now, right? Because it's been
Right.
busy and crazy. And since COVID, I think we're all more sheltered, probably, right?
Sure.
So I just find it funny that I'm tying this in just out of my head right now, off the top of my head, to bring in comparison, right? Because even through parenthood, we do, and so many aspects of our life, we do compare and we look at others and we compare, and it's just so toxic. And so I just find that funny that I just merged those two together.
Yeah. I
But
like that. It's just,
right. So anyways, I wanted to talk about that with you last week. But life happened. And so I talked to
Mhm.
her. And so actually, I think it's good that that happened because I really enjoyed that conversation because
Mhm.
she is raising her kids the way she, you know,
Sure. Mhm.
makes sense to her and I don't know, I just loved it. So not that she's doing anything different, I'm just saying like they travel a lot and I just love the experiences that she's giving her kids. And I didn't like, and not until I talked to her that I'm like, oh my god, that's so smart, I get it. Like you're teaching them through their experiences. And
Right.
of course our actions, I know, like me every day it's
Mhm.
what I say and what I do, but it's
Yeah.
like just giving them that real life experience was amazing. But anyways, so what are your thoughts on comparison?
So comparison is, I think, comes up more often than one would think. I think we're seeing it just in general. I mean, historically, I think people have always compared themselves to some extreme or the other. And I would imagine that now with social media, right, that's an
Yeah,
added platform where people have the opportunity to sit down and kind of compare ourselves. So it's very common and it's not something out of the ordinary, Don.
it's funny. I know it's not, but it's funny because I swear it's not something I do.
Mhm, mhm.
And I'm actually competitive with myself.
Okay.
So I like to compete with myself. I like to challenge myself in any way, work, whatever, especially when I used to be on the bench. I used to
Mhm,
always challenge, how can I do something differently, right?
mhm.
And it's so funny. You can be struggling inside, and then if you're watching that person, you're thinking, oh, look, they have it so easy. How can they work like that? But you don't know what they feel like inside.
Right.
Right? So I think with comparison, a lot of times I think that's what you have to be mindful of. You don't know what's in someone's bubble.
Exactly, because we typically see their best, right? Like if you
Yes.
let's say if we're going to take social media as one of those platforms, right? We see their best moments, but don't usually witness their struggles, right? Because most
Yeah.
people like to shed some positive light about their life,
Yes.
right? But
Yes.
these are
And they show you
glimpses.
what they
These are
want.
only, right. It's only snapshots of
Yes.
their life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people don't realize it really does shift your focus from
Hmm.
your own progress, right?
Right.
Um, and you're thinking about what others have or do, and you're
Mhm.
not realizing that really is shifting you from your progress. So this is why, as a life coach, I'm all about progress. I like making people aware of that,
Right. Right.
not to do that because in all honesty, we all have our own journey.
Hmm.
And what's difficult for you or what trials and tribulations you have, girl,
Hmm.
they're like a mountain to you. right?
Right.
Because you're going through it.
Right.
And just because if you're looking at me and you think, well, she doesn't have to deal with this, or this, this, her life doesn't come with this, that doesn't mean I'm not struggling and it's not too much on me because, remember, we're wired a certain way. We deal with things differently. So something that might seem easy peasy to you doesn't mean that it is for me, right?
Right, right. And I think that's great though that you're starting or you having these conversations as they come up, right, during your coaching sessions, because it's very important to remind ourselves, right, not to be okay, what are the effects if I sit here and try to compare my life to someone else's? Or, we all deal with it, like you said, we all deal with those situations and circumstances. There might be areas of ourselves that we manage certain stress levels better than others and vice versa. But, we're all different. I think that's what makes us unique is we are our own fingerprint, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I don't think they realize that when you compare, you're making yourself feel inadequate. You are
Right.
making yourself feel, worthless or less than, it's
Mhm.
not someone else, right? So I mean, I'm always going to tell you to self-reflect and be more
Yeah.
aware.
Right.
And even how even you look at things, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because there can be a situation like we
Right.
talked about recently. I don't see it that way, but she does. You know what I mean? So like you really can change that. Shifting your perspective can
Yeah.
really shift your reality.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I kind of like what you started to say is just being aware. So when you start to notice that you're comparing yourself to others, I maybe sitting down, like you said, it makes you feel inadequate. So that's not going to be helpful to you. Right.
Mm,
So then how can you, instead of, thinking that person, let's just say you see someone walking down the street and you appreciate their physical
mhm,
appearance and think, wow,
mhm.
I wish I could look like them. Rather than going into that mindset immediately of comparing, just say, it'd be great. I wonder how that person got to where they're at, like for them to be in this great physique. So if anything, maybe come from a curious standpoint rather than a judgmental standpoint.
Yeah. I love when you say that because you've said that a couple times, and I now
Mhm.
use that, by the way, in my
Mhm.
professional setting.
Good.
But it's something I've done, but never put in those words, by the way.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, I would always come from like, I'm not sure, like what? Like it came from a curious place, but that's not how I
Right.
stated it. But
But
yeah,
that's what you were doing.
yes, yeah, no, but because I'm now that you're saying that and you're putting it in the forefront of my mind,
Mhm.
I'm even more doing it and promoting it more too. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Because
Right.
now I have a way to say it
Right.
like I felt it or did it, but like I just didn't have the term, I guess, if that makes sense. But you
Yeah.
know, now that I'm like, well, come from that curious place and not so it's just easier, right? And then it's like in the back of my head, so then I am even more naturally like, okay, wait, help me understand. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or, why would you see it like that or whatever? Because I deal with people every day. So in the lab
Right.
setting. So and life coaching, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, it's just, I'm fascinated again. I'm always going to tell you about human behavior and it's
Mhm.
like you don't know what's driving that person,
Right.
right? And so I think, just to be mindful of that bubble, but like at the same time, you don't know what's in someone's bubble, but protect your bubble
Yes.
is what I want people to do, right? It's like,
Right.
you know, don't compare, don't envy. Like, oh my, I mean, I'm telling you, it really does steal your joy. Because by the way, when I see someone that works out, you know what I think? Gosh, how can I get the drive? I just
Right.
think like, like I think of it that way. Because come on, like when I see a girl that's like, dang, dude, like you have some drive, girl. Like I want that
Right.
drive. You know what I mean? Like, but,
Right.
I
Right.
have my own drive. You know what I mean? Like in a different way. You know what I mean? But
Mhm. And
yeah,
see that you're coming from that perspective, right? You're rather than feeling inadequate in that moment or saying like, oh, well, they must have it easier. Just coming from a judgmental, critical aspect of thinking, it's more like, gosh, where do I get that motivation? I should ask them like, where did they sign up for a certain class, or
Yeah.
where, how long did it take you to get to the place that you're at today? And it's okay, like, compliment the person rather than
Yeah.
coming
Oh,
again
yeah.
from a judgmental stance, right? Or an
Yeah.
envious stance.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so, then what you need to do is practice, self-compassion,
Hmm. Hmm. Right.
right? Kindness towards yourself, right?
Right.
So like you're giving that person kindness by like,
Hmm.
thinking positive things about them,
Right.
right? But it's like
Yes.
do that for yourself. I think that
Hmm.
if you can practice, giving yourself that grace and that kindness, it'll
Right.
be easier on yourself. Because honestly, we are our worst critics, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, I mean, somewhere along those lines, you're saying. So I know that we started with saying how comparing can be very detrimental to our emotional health, right? When we use comparison as a motivation, kind of like what we're talking about right now,
Yeah.
that can serve as a potential, right, a catalyst for change. So if we're able to, for example, say, you know, that I want to get to the place where that person's at. Like, geez, how did you even get started with your exercise routine or whatever? So as long as it's healthy, if the comparisons is going to be
Yeah.
made, just
Yeah.
keeping that in mind, right? So that you can, I mean, it feels really good to celebrate your accomplishments, let alone others' accomplishments, right? Or, yeah. So anyways, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, but it's true because you keep in mind that that's their journey, right? So that's how they got there, but you can take tips from them and apply it to you and your lifestyle because we do,
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
different types of lifestyles. We do have different hurdles and, like,
Mhm.
so something like someone might have more time than you have, right? So
Right.
then even if you don't have that time, like as much time like you can carve out and
Right.
start with the 5-10 minutes and you know what I mean, but two,
Right.
I think what we don't do, Claudia,
Right.
is we don't practice gratitude,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
how they say like every night or every morning or both, you know what I mean, like
Yes.
I like to start to say, oh, thank you for this day, like I really do, like I am grateful for my family, for what I
Yes.
have, and I have always said all my life, and the problems I don't have. I have
Right.
always thanked God for the problems I don't have because
Right.
things can be worse, right? So at night, what you can do is don't focus on what didn't go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Focus on the positive.
Hmm.
And I mean, there's such power in, because look, when I listen to these things or when I listen to other people, I know we're probably thinking, oh yeah, that's easier said than done. And you
Right.
have that negative, but I promise you, it's those little things that you
Hmm.
do that turn into bigger things, right? So I think if you can practice gratitude more,
Yes.
and
Yes.
be grateful for your achievements like you just said, be
Hmm.
grateful for what you have, and if you just literally have to start with my job, my home, my car, you know what I mean, like whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, like you just got
Right.
to start somewhere, and then how many times I'm like, I've almost hit myself, like my leg or my foot, and I'm like, oh my god,
Yes.
thank god I did not, like I'm so grateful
Right.
for that, because having a sore foot and that sounds so silly, but like I truly thank God for everything.
Yeah, no. And I think the more we're grateful for the things that we have, then I mean, the more you're going to instill or manifest good things to continue to happen to you. There's always something, even if it's just one thing to be thankful for. If it's, I mean, not just one thing, I hate to say this, but taking a breath of fresh air or just breathing
Yeah.
on your own is something that we should all be grateful as long as we're laying in our bed. And that's actually a practice that I implement too, Don. Before I even get out of my bed, I'm like, I am so grateful for being able to move my joints today, because there's people that may not be able to. Right. So there's always that one thing to be thankful. And we start, like you said, maybe if you want to call it count your blessings or be grateful and to manifest more things, that's going to only, if you incorporate that in your daily routine, that's going to help you hopefully feel better about yourself and realize, I have it pretty good.
Yeah. And I can tell you, like, just because we brought up fitness, I don't like working out.
Hmm.
I don't like it. I know you do, and that's great for
Hmm.
you. But
Hmm.
I love to dance.
Hmm.
So I haven't done it yet, but we used to do it a lot. The Wii with the kids, or like the
Yes.
PlayStation with the dance off or whatever.
Yeah.
so I feel like you can find ways to do things that help you to get your endorphins going.
Hmm.
Find a way that, okay, this is, if it's just a walk, but even if it is just a walk, you know what I mean? Like, I feel there's ways that you can um, find that are easy, that don't cost you much and don't cost you time to do these things. Because
Right.
I'm not going to lie, girl, Evan busted my bubble and told me the other day that I am a middle-aged woman.
Yeah.
I was like,
Okay.
what? No, I'm not. And then I'm like, wait, oh my God, am I? Am I? And it just got me thinking, like,
Yeah.
I'm not scared to get old, but
Right.
like, I don't want to be unhealthy. I want to be able to make sure that I'm mobile and, sharp and I think we take our good health, our time, like we take a lot for granted. And
Oh, yeah.
sometimes something bad has to happen to us or around us for
Right.
us to change or to um
To
have that drive.
appreciate or have
Yes,
that drive. Right. Right.
right.
It reminds me, Don, of this was years ago. I had a injury on my foot and I had to be on crutches, and
Oh,
it was terrible. I didn't realize the struggles that one has when you only have access to using one of your feet,
yeah,
so it was, to get into the shower, to get off, to not be able to drive, not be able to do things on my own and have to depend on others to help me. I couldn't tell you how I realized, like, I took it for granted, being able to walk and run and get up and use my both feet just to, get through my day.
yep,
Those are the things, right, that we're talking about. Even that in itself is just gratitude is something we should all practice. I mean,
yes. Do you know it was? I'll share a little something. It was funny. Had to be 2021. Had to be. Girl, I was visiting family and I got a little carried away on the damn trampoline and I broke, popped, tore, whatever you want to call it, my ACL and meniscus. Okay. Girl, I'm jumping and I hear pop and the pain kicks in and I fall and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do?
wow.
Oh my God, Claudia, it was horrible. And so I was limping and I'm like, wait, I'm on vacation. I gotta fly. And it scared me. What blood clots, circulation, like, oh my God, so many things were going through my head.
Right.
So I felt so helpless. My husband, girl, had the audacity to say, what makes you think you should be on a trampoline? Like I was like, excuse you. Like, but let me tell you, the way I dealt with that, and I hate that that happened,
Yeah.
but that's when I really realized, oh my God, I am only getting older, and I can afford to lose a good 20 pounds.
Mm.
And having this weight on my knee does
Yeah.
not help. And I have lost 20 pounds, okay? So since then,
Awesome.
and I've had my gallbladder out, which after that too, and that was that before? It doesn't matter, I don't know the timeline. That was, I think it's the same year. I was like, good Lord, like I'm falling apart. Like, and we do take that for granted. But it was funny
Absolutely.
because I was offended. I was like, am I too grown or too, you're telling me I'm too grown or too heavy to drink? Like, that's not cool. Like, I want to jump on a trampoline forever, but I'll never do it again, by the way.
Right.
It was that easy to tear something, forget it.
Right.
But man, I mean, it was funny. My husband was grouchy for weeks because, I was down and out. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And, with me being, matriarch, whatever you want to call, like
Mhm.
everyone was so mad and like it really affected them.
Right.
They really realized how much mom does. It's like, you see, guys? So I will say since then, I have been more, and I felt like that was a wake up call, to be honest with you. I was
Sure.
like, okay, I feel like the Lord, universe, someone is telling me, girl, get it together
Right.
because, these things can happen. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I feel like, yeah, yeah. I don't want
Yeah.
to like get off subject, but it made me think of
Right.
that.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I think, people need to remind themselves not to do that, and look in the mirror and try to love what you see. Like, we all have our own
Hmm.
beauty inside and out, right?
We
Like,
do.
I don't, like, I don't know, it's funny because my daughter always wants to say that, like, Evan is my favorite, or that, like, I treat him differently. And I wish I tell her, girl, you're two different people. I can't treat you the same. And I
Right.
feel lucky that I had a girl first and then a boy. Because for me,
Mhm.
like, I want that girl to be strong because the world that we live in nowadays, right? Like, I wanted her to be, and I think I've shared this, or maybe I haven't, but I remember my mom telling me when I got pregnant with Evie, "Oh, I hope
Hmm.
you have a girl." And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "So that you can learn what it's like to have a selfish bitch of a daughter." I was
Ooh.
like, "Oh, no, you did not, woman." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, I hope you know that if she's not naturally like that, I'm going to embed it in her, woman, because that's how a woman should be." She says she never said it, but I'm telling you, she said.
Hmm.
And I said, "You do know I'm proud to be a selfish bitch, right, mom? Like what like that does not offend me. But I will say, Evie has her dad's temperament and my attitude, and ooh, good luck to that spouse." But back to the comparison. But Evie, I hate that. And I tell her all the time, you guys, stop comparing. And
Right.
I've told her from day one, like,
Right.
if this is how you're going to continue to be, I'm telling you right now, you're not, and this is before life coaching, like, this is, 11 years ago, like, because they're 3.5 years apart, and she
Right.
wanted a brother so bad. And then when she saw that the focus shifted off to her, she got
Right.
very jealous, and
Yeah.
so I would always tell her, "Evie, I'm telling you, if this is how you're going to think and be, you're not going to be happy in life. You cannot compare. You are
Right.
two different peoples. You have two." And I've always said this to her.
Hmm.
And so she's gotten better, but she'll still bring it up. And I'm like, "You just don't get it. You're different. Like, you want me to be different with Evan,
Right.
but then again, when I am, you want to." Yeah, it's funny. So kids
Yeah.
do it, and I hate that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I can't even imagine in this day and age, right? Is that there's so much more, um, or if people feel there's just so much more of a reason to, right? Because again, we see those small glimpses of snapshots on social media of people's lives, and we only imagine that that's their life every day, right? That you are walking around in this beautiful, gorgeous gown and this beautiful staircase, going whatever it is that you're, it's just we have to stop and think that that's not reality. That is
Yeah.
not reality. And not to mention, right, we're not going to go into, I mean, I don't want to deviate off topic too, but I mean, I know we say, money, material things like that doesn't always bring you happiness. It might be temporarily, but again,
Girl.
it's right. Yeah.
Okay, so funny. So yesterday, I'm taking Evan to the doctor for some shots or whatever, and I don't know how this came up, but he's like, "Oh, mom, I want a big house. I want a mansion." I don't even remember how this came up, and I said, "Yeah, okay, we'll see one day." I don't know. For me, when I think of that, I'm like, "Oh my God, more to clean,
I know, right?
more responsibility." Like from a mom's perspective, I'm
Yeah.
like, "That's more to clean, boy. I don't want anything bigger than what I have now, right?" But
Right.
I said, Evan, it's good to desire, it's good to want that,
Mhm.
manifest it. I said, but I want you to know that that doesn't bring you the happiness. Like, you have to be happy in what
Right.
you have, right? And I told him, "Do you know, unfortunately, a lot of people that have money, do you know?" And he finished my sentence. He's like, "What? They're depressed?" I said, "Yeah. Believe it or not, money doesn't buy happiness, and a lot of people that have it will tell you that, so, and I do deal with the kids always like comparing, like, "Oh, well, so and so lives here and they have this, and good for them."
Right.
That's not what I choose to do with my money or whatever. Like, this is not what I'm choosing or whatever, but,
Right.
it's hard as parents, girl. Like,
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I want this iPhone or that." And it's like, I want to give it to them because I can,
Right.
but I don't, because what am I teaching them? Don't get me wrong, my
Exactly.
daughter is 16, she has an iPhone now, but I'm saying, like,
Right.
in the beginning when we came from
Right.
Sacramento to here, like, oh my God, and I would always tell my kids, "Please stop, like, stop doing
Mhm.
that." Like,
Right.
so I'm curious to see how they'll turn out.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll turn out great. It sounds like you're planting the right seeds there, but because you're reinforcing a lot of what we're talking about, right? It's this
Yeah.
comparison, and of course we don't want to suggest to people that comparing is something out of this world because it's not. But
No, we all do
back to
it.
what
Yeah.
you said earlier, right? Is the only person that we should be comparing ourselves with is probably just ourselves, right? Is
Mhm.
the efforts on okay, how can I focus on being a better version of myself or
Mhm.
having to grow inward, right? Instead of, figuring out, again, compare yourself to others,
Yeah.
compare yourself to
Yeah.
you. How do I be more kinder? How do I compliment others? How do I support and help others? How can I become more what's the word, resilient, right? Working hard, being open-minded, things like that. But it's a lot of work. And but yeah, I think it's worth the investment, right? Is the investment is for ourselves, not for anyone else, so
Yeah,
that we
your
can
inner
stop,
happiness. Yeah.
right? So that we can stop comparing ourselves to
Yeah.
others. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, and I don't compare, but I see how easy it is. Like with
Hmm.
me trying to promote myself more as a life coach,
Hmm.
and trying to put myself out there, and I have met two wonderful women. Oh my God, and they're local. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Nice.
And one's a confidence coach, and the other one is a Latina. Like she only works with Latinas, so I don't
Oh,
think she's
goodness. Mhm.
specific to like the one does, she's just a coach or life coach, whatever.
Right.
She's been doing it for like 18 years. And so we recently um, talked briefly, and I do want to work with her in the future because I do feel even I need a mentor, right? And then
Uh-huh.
the other one has had a different journey. So I just love talking to people and figuring that out. But not once have I don't lessen myself. Like I don't tell them how, I mean, I do, but not really. Like I'm so new at this, like, you know what I mean? Like I am unfortunately where they are so long ago, but I look at them as inspiration. Like, oh my God, that's what I can do, And
Yes.
so and I know I'm not. I know it's hard to do that, But
Right.
I really do feel even with this podcast, and I can't thank you enough. And I can tell you, and I tell you all the time, a lot of people do tell me, I love Claudia. So
Oh,
for some
thank you.
people that have not told me that yet, it's because I haven't talked to you. But, no, but seriously, every person no, honestly, that I have talked to, they're like, we love Claudia. And I was like, me too. And,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the time that, I feel that you and I know that what we're doing, like we see bigger
Mhm.
picture and what we're trying to provide, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, I enjoy that. Like, I'm literally enjoying my journey. Like, it is not my end result. I'm not focused on, like, I mean, I know what I want at the end, don't get me wrong, but that's not what I'm focused on. I'm focused on
Right.
the now. And I'm
Right.
just trying to enjoy it because I'm telling you, I feel it in my heart and every beam of my body. This is what
Yes.
I should be doing, life
Yeah.
coaching, using my voice. And I'm using that through podcasting too, right? Using
Right.
my voice to help others, right? I'm truly enjoying my journey, and
Hmm.
I'm not concerned about how many clients or how busy I am or how it's going. Like, no, I'm just honestly trying to enjoy it. And I refuse to like, well, this person has this or this person has done that.
Right.
And to be quite honest, I don't know why, and I have to figure that out, but I'm not quite ready to do this full time
Hmm. Sure.
because I
Yeah.
really do enjoy my job. I love my job that I
Right.
have.
You're full
And
time.
I don't know. I'm just not ready for, and I have to figure that out. But internally, I'm saying,
Yes.
but I just wish people can just be kinder with yourself on that. Like that, I
Mhm.
think is the biggest thing, Claudia.
I know, and it really shows just you speaking of it, Don, how passionate you are, and I think that's why we both connect really well because we doing this for a living by far as I'm with you, it's a dream come true, and it's important to help others reach
Mhm.
that goal. Like
Yes.
what is it that I'm meant to do in this world, and if we
Yes.
can all just find what that is, I mean, we'd be so much happier. We'd be in different places for ourselves. But even it's never too late to start anything for that matter. And I think again, starting with yourself and working inward. Like I have to learn to love myself to the fullest so that I can be happy regardless of my circumstances. And I know that life isn't easy, and I know that life always, throws jabs at us, but you know what? It makes us better people. Those experiences we have to turn into ways to fulfill what's ahead of us, right? Is this experience has taught me what? What is the life lesson learned here, right? So there's so much there, Don, and I
Oh
really,
my
really
God, that's a whole nother episode, by the way. Because I'm telling you, I believe in, resistance calls resistance,
right.
right? And I always tell people, yeah, right. Like I always tell people when they're dealing with something, I'm like, I really do feel you're fighting this, but why? Why don't you
Right.
take a step back and think, okay, what can I learn from this? And I promise you, it will
Mhm.
pass. Like this
Yeah.
too shall pass, right? You hear that
Yes.
in the Bible,
All the
right?
time.
Like,
Mhm.
and when I'm struggling, I'm like, this will pass. Like,
Yes.
but like, I really do feel like, and even if I'm wrong in a situation or I felt wronged either way, right? I just
Right.
think, okay, Don, like, what can you learn? Like, and a lot of times I have to be the bigger person, but at the end of the day, I keep my peace,
Sure.
right?
Mhm.
So I think you'll agree with me. Comparison truly is the death of your joy, but we have the power to reclaim it by
Yes.
shifting our mindset and focus on gratitude and self-compassion.
I love that. Well said. You summarized that perfectly, Don.
So keep pushing, keep shining, keep thriving.